That's fine. Hello everybody, thank you for coming listening to my speech. I am Serge and I am working for the Belgian federal government. Not the ones who are collecting the taxes, but another department actually from Federal Public Service called BOSA. It stands for Policy and Support. And in my department we are busy with e-government, so using IT in governmental matters. And by extensions, we are also following up some things that are really promising trend in the IT market. And e-invoicing is one of them. It goes beyond e-government, of course, but there are relationships between the enterprises and the government in the context of e-invoicing. And that's where it all started. So let me bring you into a quick summary of the journey I had with the invoicing thing since more or less 10 years, and that brings us to the current obligation in Belgium. I will start with summarizing the interest, what's at stake with e-invoicing. Why does the government matter actually? I gave one dimension of it. We are also involved with inbound invoicing, but broader, there's a digitalization stake with these e-invoicing things. There is also something about the simplification. Of course, there is an aspect of tax collection and more specifically tax fairness. And then it also touches trade, which is also a matter where the government is interested. Let me give you a bit more information about those different stakes. From the digitalization point of view, strategically speaking, there's an axis with the invoicing that we can touch. It's about the dissemination of technological innovation. It's good to innovate, but it's better to disseminate that innovation so that the society also can reap the benefits of that innovation. As a government, that's what is more concerning us than the innovation in itself. And regarding that, invoicing is actually a quite good case to look after dissemination of innovation, because we all receive invoices, we all send invoices, it touches everybody. It is central to our economy, so it's key. It's not something that you can just disregard. It's important for your business and it's important for the citizens. And it touches also many different processes. You don't think at that every day, but there are touching points with, of course, purchasing and sales, but also taxes, accounting, financial management, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, e-invoicing is something that is international. There is no border. Each time you find a solution to send an invoice to someone else, you find a limit to not send an invoice to a third party who is not yet on your system. So it's a borderless use case, and that is also very promising when you try to disseminate technological innovation. That's also a bit why it's an integral part of the European strategy of the digital single market, and now the digital decade. It's still quite central in those policy matters from the European scale, which is of course quite important also for the member states. So that was for the strategic point of view of the innovation and digitalization. Then more on the side of simplification, we all know that picture of about what benefits can you directly get from e-invoicing. It's savings, it's efficiencies. And when we compare the savings that we make, or the cost on paper and the cost when you switch on full electronic, the average saving is 55% of the initial cost. You go from 12 euro to 3.50 euro. When you look at the savings from PDF to electronic, because now we are 2025 about more or less, and all the people, they use PDF, you still realize, you still achieve a savings of 64%. So there is a direct benefit of the technology, and these figures are based on studies that are already quite outdated, so we would have to actualize those figures to have an up-to-date assessment. These figures are from 2013 from the colleagues of the Simplification Agency. Then if we look at the indirect benefits, well, one of them which is frequently mentioned is what we call dynamic discount. You can optimize your cash management by using your invoice flow to also finance your activities by doing, like I said, aspects like dynamic discount, where the machines directly negotiates the payment terms and optimize through that matter the presence of cash in the company. Beyond that micro advantage from the financial point of view, there is a macro advantage. By making these data about the invoices massively available, you can imagine new financial products. So you can get better loans and at the end of the day, a better financial management. On the simplification side, you also have the simplification of the administrative procedure, because the invoice is also central to the relationship with the government. And so if you can simplify your relationship with the administration, the tax collection agency, and other agency, it's also a quite important burden sparing. Like I said, and that's quite central to the action of our colleagues from the finance administration, we increase tax fairness, because there is a lot of fraud that is going on regarding VAT, and a better collection of the VAT will be better for the whole of the economy, except the frauders, of course. So it's a quite important socio-economic stake. And as I said, we can reuse this model in other processes once we will have the e-invoicing generalized. Then we can recycle what we have learned by the generalization journey to other processes, especially for us in the e-government aspect, where a lot of you guys, you are involved with systems from the government that you have to rekey your information, and that's not the purpose. At the end of the day, all the systems should communicate fluently, but you don't do that in one go. You need different experiences, you need different processes to reach the right models. So that was for the benefits and the stakes. Of course, we realize that this does not happen by magic. There are conditions to get that. And it's not only condition related to yourself and your trading partners. It's relationship to the whole of the economy. And I summarize that by this sentence. The condition is that all the trading partners, they share the same model. If each trading partner or disparate communities sharing different models that not cohabit with each other, then you soon get to an impossibility to generalize the technology. So you need interoperable and open standards. And you also need a high availability of affordable, compliant IT solutions. And that does not happen overnight. I've said it twice already. Sorry that I have to repeat myself. This is a very long journey. It actually started in the 80s, and it was not the government that was leading that. It was the corporate, the large players who, in the context of the business process re-engineering strategies, have refocused to the core business. They have outsourced a lot of activities, and this created the need to manage the flow of data electronically in an efficient way, called EDI. Probably a lot of you know better than I what it actually means in details, because there's a quite complex technology behind that. Now we are about 30 to 40 years later, and we have achieved additional milestones. Let's say that the pioneering phase with the corporate, it lasted until 2000. And from 2000 on, the government started to interest into the thing and to regulate, to support, to promote that e-invoicing thing with that perspective. Let me give you a few slides about what we have been doing in Belgium to support that, and more specifically in the context of the governmental inbound invoicing flow, the B2G, like we call that. The first thing that we've done, and it's in fact one step behind, if I may summarize it, what we have been doing is identify and overcome the technical limitation of the current market offering that was, in the years 2012, pretty fragmented. So what we've been doing in Belgium first, and that's where I started with the invoicing, is a pilot phase, trying to use the traditional three-corner model, a central platform for the sender and the receiver, to get an experience on e-invoicing, and that's called the Mercurius platform. That's what we have been setting up in 2013, and we've run the pilot phase until 2015, and we found that it works. Technically, it works fine, but the problem is that it is not possible to onboard all the suppliers. At the large scale, it is impossible because all the suppliers have their own model, and then we have to negotiate with them, and it takes decades sometimes, so it is just impossible to onboard all these suppliers. So we went to look at an interoperable model, and that's where we found that Peppol model. So that was the decision at the end, and the conclusion of the pilot phase was to Peppolize the Mercurius platform and to provide technical support to our public administrations. Okay, it's a long slide. I will go quickly through it because I don't have the time, but okay, what is Peppol? Actually, the general idea is that everybody can choose his own IT tool, and then all the tools, they share the same basic rules and standards to make sure that the exchanges are always possible. Not always optimized, but always possible. And it's quite important to make the distinction between optimized exchange and exchange. At least there is an exchange between the machine of the sender and the machine of the receiver. How does it happen? It's not really technical. Yeah, it's a selection of technical standards, but the standards, they exist. What Peppol does is select the proven standards and build a strong network governance around it to make it open to the whole market so that there is no vendor locking into this. And to make that possible, it also adds a level of juridical safety. You need to be sure, as a sender and a receiver, that your document is juridically certain, so there is a layer of contracts that not many people are interested with, but that is in fact the fundament of interoperability of Peppol. And then there are other features. Maybe the most important is the four-corner model. Like I said, you have your own tool, all your trading partners have their own tool, you don't have a direct dependency, and that's thanks to the fact that there is a common network, a backbone network with access points, and you have a relationship with these access points, and the other one has a relationship with his own access point, and so it gets the ball rolling between all the users of the Peppol network. And the second very important feature is the common denominator. Like I said, we don't look for the full optimum in all situations. Where it is possible to optimize, we will. But where it is difficult because your trading partner is not in the same sector or not in the same country, then we will go for what we call the common denominator format. You can use the two. It's a multi-protocol model, but at least you have to speak the common denominator. I go quickly to that, so you see that Mercurius platform, it still looks like the three-corner model, but actually it is not. So I will immediately go to the next slide, where it gives another vision of it. That's just the mailroom of the government, the principal mailroom of the government, And the real central element is that backbone I talked about. That's the Peppol network. And it's not a central element for the B2G, it's a central element for the whole of the e-invoicing exchange, also for the B2B, and maybe in the future also for the B2C, because there is no real reason to limit that for the B2B, but of course it's a matter of time and maturity of the IT offering for the different segments. Okay, I'll briefly go to a few other measures that we've been taking in the context of the B2G efforts. At some point in time we have obliged our suppliers to use a certain format, that common denominator format, which is, by the way, based on something you may have heard of, the European norm of e-invoicing, which has been published in 2017. So we have made sure that all the suppliers would have to use that for their B2G e-invoicing, and we have offered them the possibility to be notified on a central page on our website, so that all the suppliers could know what offering would be suitable to do e-invoicing with the government. And then we have, with the time, made other measures like the business expert group on e-invoicing. That is something that we do together with the Federation of Enterprises of Belgium and the Agoria IT Federation, where we sit together with the different stakeholders to look after way to use the standards according to the different business scenario, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel each time we find consensus in the way how we need to use the standard. Then Hermes is a model to help the senders who can already send Peppol to reach receivers even if they are not yet on Peppol, because on Peppol both trading partners need to be there and it's still a free choice. So if the receiver has not yet chosen to be on Peppol, then the sender is stuck. And Peppol, Hermes overcomes that obstacle for a temporary moment until the receiver realizes that Peppol is the way to go, and they find a suitable tool and they get Peppolized themselves. And then the e-invoicing conference, we've been supporting an organization that is active in events around the invoicing, coming from actually Netherlands. They contacted us a long time ago, and so we decided to support that, to let the ball rolling of the communication. Now we are 5 years later, and there are all sorts of events that are organized around the invoicing, so it's not really necessary anymore, but we are still doing that together. It brings us to the current moment, which is the VAT regulation, and now it's our colleagues from tax administration who decided indeed to also go for a promotion of e-invoicing to improve their tax collection flow, to reduce the VAT gap. And we have been in touch with them for a long time. We have been supporting them in the policy making, and that brought them to what we call the two-track approach, where the standard is Peppol. But of course, if you and your trading partner find an agreement to use another model, okay, that's at your own risk and perils. The only thing is that you have a common denominator model and a common denominator network that you have to support. And the software providers like Odoo, they comply with that, and they offer a solution that brings you certainty that you are compliant with that obligation, which is, by the way, applicable from 1st of January 2026. Okay, this brings me to my conclusion mail. So a few takeaways, because there was a lot of information. First of all, the widespread use of e-invoicing is quite critical from a socio-economic perspective, something you don't always see, but this is actually very important for our future. That's the reason why the government is involved with that. Second, Rome was not built in a day. It's not a revolution, it's an evolution. We build up on the previous stages. Third element, the SMEs, is very important that they have an all-in-one solution, and Peppol can help that because it enables the IT player the software provider, and the carriers, like we told them, to align with themselves to provide something that is consistent for all the beneficiaries of the technology. And my conclusion is that the regulation that has been promoted by our colleagues from tax administration is not just an obligation, it is also something that is the result from a collective, a democratic decision. It's a law in a democratic country, and that's actually necessary because all the people, they need to find an agreement in a fragmented market on how they will manage the disparate solutions that they are using. Thank you for your attention. I don't know if there are questions. I hear you, but they don't, I think. Still something to look after.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions from the audience? Any questions from the audience? Cool. Thank you so much. A round of applause to him for the presentation.
Thank you very much.